Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and in today's video I wanted to make a bit of a follow-up to the first PS4 CMOS issue video that I made about I think a month ago. Now if you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend that you go watch it. I'll leave a link in the description below, but I'll kind of try to recap it the best I can. So for those who don't even know what the CMOS issue even is on the PS4, basically the PS4 has a internal battery inside of it that powers a chip that keeps track of the time and everything. And when that battery dies, games just completely stop working unless you are connected to the internet. And now, in my previous video, I go way more in depth. I talk about exactly why that happens and more stuff like that. But so again, please watch that video. But that's basically the gist of it. So the reason why I wanted to make this video though is because I've seen a lot of misinformation spreading around. I've seen a lot of people with just questions and stuff like that, and I wanted to go over a lot of that in this video. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is why this issue is even important in the first place, because that's something I actually didn't even talk about in the last video. So the reason why this is important is because remember when I said earlier in the video that games will become completely unplayable unless you're connected to PSN if your battery is dead? Well, the problem is that server's not going to be around forever, and when that server gets shut down, you won't be able to sync your time and be able to play those games when your battery dies. And that's a big problem, because if that happens, your console just kind of becomes a brick. Now, I've seen people bring up the fact that this isn't really an issue right now, and they're not wrong. It's really not an issue that affects very many people right now, because most people's CMOS batteries are still working perfectly fine, and the servers are still working fine, so you can still just connect to the internet and sync the clock that way. But the problem is, it will become an issue in the future unless we don't do something about it, because once Sony servers get shut down, you won't be able to do anything about it. It's one of the reasons why I made that first video in the first place, because I wanted to spread awareness of that issue. I wanted Sony to hopefully see that and fix it, and we'll get into that later on in the video actually, because that's another thing. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I made that first video, is because it will be an issue in the future unless something is done about it. I've also seen people say, well, it won't be a problem because CMOS batteries will never die, and no, that's not true. They will die eventually. They're just standard watch batteries. They're not even capable of being recharged. So yeah, they will die eventually. Now, of course, when the batteries will actually die is kind of a question, because batteries are all built differently, so they'll all last a varying amount of time. But pretty much the average lifespan for a battery, in like the type of battery that's in the PS4, is about 10 or so years. They can last less time than that. They can also last way longer than that. I've seen batteries like that last as long as 30 years, but they will die eventually, and when they do, it will become a problem. So another thing that I have seen people ask is whether or not this is an issue that happens on PS5. And that actually is a very good question, and something I was really wondering too. And the answer is kind of spotty, because not a whole lot of people have actually tested their PS5s, and not a lot of people really want to open their PS5s, because it's really hard to find another one right now. But the few people who have tested their PS5s for this issue have mostly just said that physical games will still work fine, including PS4 games, by the way. But digital games, from everybody who's tested it, has said that all their digital games just cease working. And that's also something that happens with PS3 digital games. If your battery dies, they just completely stop working, except for trial versions, apparently. And also physical games will still work, but just digital games will just stop working. Now, another thing too is, while PS4 games will work on PS5 without a CMOS battery, a lot of PS4 games, especially if you're playing them without updates, which is going to be pretty much required if you're playing after the server shut down, a lot of those games will have issues on PS5 through backwards compatibility without updates, and that's also kind of a problem. Like, I've seen some games that are so bad they're unplayable. Like Far Cry 5 will just freeze like every 5 minutes if I'm playing pre-patched. It doesn't happen on PS4, by the way. So yeah, that's still one of the reasons why I think that Sony should still fix this issue on PS4, because there are a lot of PS4 games that won't be a very pleasant experience if you were to play them on PS5. So having them playable on a PS4 without a CMOS battery is still pretty important. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is Sony's response to this whole situation, because this issue actually did kind of blow up, and a lot of people have been sending support emails to Sony saying, hey, can you fix this issue? And Sony have responded to a lot of those emails, so I kind of wanted to talk about their responses to the issue. And they're honestly pretty funny. So one email that I've seen, and actually this is an email I've seen sent to a lot of people, is that Sony just couldn't replicate the issue. They couldn't replicate the CMOS issue. Now, the problem with this is everybody that I have talked to who has also tested this issue has come to the exact same conclusion that I have, and has also run into all the exact same issues that I have run into. So Sony is either not testing it correctly or they're just lying. Now, another support email that I've also seen floating around is Sony actually responding by saying they actually do know what causes the issue. They actually do know what causes those error messages, but they just say that the solution is just to connect to the internet, which is the exact thing we want Sony to fix. But it seems like Sony, at least Sony support, is kind of just treating it like a non-issue. Now, I think one thing that people should consider is that Sony support responses are not like official company statements. For all we know, Sony could actually be hard at work at fixing this issue, and support just might not be completely knowledgeable as to what's going on, so they're just responding with these sort of things. So I would take these responses with a grain of salt. I mean, it's entirely possible that Sony are actually going to fix this issue, but yeah, things aren't really looking too great for that CMOS issue. Now, those support responses are actually one of the reasons why I was kind of pushed to make this video in the first place. It pissed me off enough that I really wanted to make this video. But I have actually been wanting to make this video for a while. I've been wanting to clear up a lot of the misinformation that I've been seeing. However, another reason why I wanted to make this video, and it's actually one of the reasons why those support responses kind of pushed me to make this, was because I wanted to keep this issue relevant. I wanted to keep talking about this issue, because if people just stop talking about this issue, then Sony are probably just going to brush it under the rug and probably not even fix it. So yeah, I just wanted to keep this topic relevant and hopefully inspire some more people to keep pushing Sony to fix this issue, because if people stop pushing Sony to fix it, they're not going to fix it. So yeah, that's why I wanted to make this video. But if there's any takeaway from this video, just please keep telling Sony to fix this issue, and also please keep telling Sony why you want this issue to be fixed. That's another thing that I think is pretty important. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So if you did enjoy this video, just please leave a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.